story. It was complete accident. I was playing with my dad in the driveway, and we had a little curb there, like a 4-inch curb, and he wanted me to practice listening, I guess. He would call to me and kind of move around, and I would close my eyes and I would listen and then walk towards him. But I ran into the curb and I fell over the curb and I hit my head on a tree, and there was a little piece of branch sticking out, and it went into my skin right above my eye right here. I still have a scar. So if you're around me sometime, you can take a peek. Um, and I got stuck on the tree, and he had to grab me and pull me off. And it must have hit just the right spot. I was bleeding profusely. My hands were red. His hands were red. He picked me up. He started yelling for my mother, took me to the house. My mom opened the door. I remember her turning white and just my hand, like I remember my hands, just looking at my hands and thinking, what the heck is that? They were bright red. And I think that's when I probably passed out, because I don't remember anything after that. I just remember waking up, if you will, in the corner of the room. So in that experience, I don't have any memory of exiting my body like I do in my second near-death experience. I just was in the corner of the room, up in the ceiling on the left side. It's always the left side, above the door to that room. And I could see inside the room, just like if I were, alive in my body. I could see my mom sitting on the sofa. I could see myself laying on the sofa. And then I could see outside, I could see my father outside with an ambulance and an ambulance driver, EMT. I don't know if he was the driver specifically, but with an EMT. And they were talking. And I was wrapped in the arms of a female angel. And it was a beautiful moment. I felt all of the love that I felt in my second experience. She was over me, so her back would be up, if you will, and she was holding me like this. So I was underneath her, able to see the room, and I felt the tunnel behind me. And I remember looking at the tunnel, but I don't remember going into the tunnel. We stayed there in the corner of the room. And very interesting that in my second near-death experience, I learned that that was my mother-in-law. No accidents in life. I don't know if that's entirely true, but it's incredible to me that she would have been alive in that moment, awake in the same city I was in. And yet, in my near-death experience, here she is holding me wrapped in her arms. So it, to me, is an example of how our souls are doing things without our awareness, that our mind is not fully cognizant of in every moment. That she was able to be there with me like that. Or perhaps it was a different part of her soul. So something else that I saw is that our souls are in different places at different times. It's like one big soul, and you're just part of it. Parts of that larger soul are off, getting into shenanigans in other places. And so maybe that was just a different part of her core soul, if you will. So I woke up on the sofa. So it was a very short experience, but it definitely changed me. I was very spiritual without knowing that I was spiritual. So after my second near-death experience, I didn't change a whole lot. I think because I had had that childhood experience. My parents were not religious. I didn't have any words to talk about it. It felt like a dream to me when I woke up from it. So I didn't talk about it with anyone. I had had a lot of different kinds of health issues, and it kind of finally came to a boiling point where I ended up in an ambulance and I went to the hospital. And that's what really made myself and my husband say, okay, we really need to hunt this down. So we went to a neurologist, and the neurologist took one look at me and said, oh, you have essential tremor plus. like Parkinson's, it just has a different source to it. And maybe, there might be more going on here because my symptoms were so bad that they were really out of bounds for that kind of illness for that age. So I went to a movement disorder specialist who ordered a tilt table test. A tilt table is designed to keep you still so that you can't move around. A lot of people don't know that when you move around, you're actually doing a lot with your blood pressure. And that was my biggest problem at that point, is that my blood pressure was dropping. It actually had kind of gotten out of bounds by going way too high, which is what sent me to the hospital. But the problem ultimately is that it drops while I'm standing up. So they strap you down, your hands and your feet, your head, you can't move. They tilt this table upright and it's back usually 5 to 10 degrees, it depends. And you're hooked up to all this equipment that measures your vital signs. As soon as I went upright, my husband, who was sitting behind the doctor, was able to watch the screens, and my vital signs went down steady and even like a ski slope. At 18 minutes, I went into seizures to try to revive myself. I was dying. I mean, my vital signs were so low. My brain was deprived of oxygen. My heart was stopping. And I didn't have any feelings. That's the scary part about what's going on with my body. My body doesn't talk to my brain. So I don't even know when I'm about to pass out or feeling sick. I have to have someone there to tell me. So the doctor's asking, hey, how are you feeling? My husband is kind of, nudging me with, you need to be talking about how you're feeling. I'm sure I looked ghostly, but I couldn't even talk because I didn't have the capability to do it. And I didn't feel myself go into the seizures. I just immediately popped out of my body and was looking at myself in the face. Didn't care at all that that was me. It was like a Toyota Camry, and I was done. I'm selling it at the car lot, moving on to something better. It was just totally fine being out of my body. I had no pain, which was beautiful because I didn't have a body. And I was stepping into all of that feeling of love and being at home and being back in a more natural state because I had left my body. And all at the same time, this is all happening so quickly. I was only gone from this planet out of my body for 32 seconds, but I have a very extensive experience, which would take much longer than 32 seconds. And this is part of it. This is an example of it. I exit my body, I'm looking at myself, and all that I'm about to tell you before I get into the tunnel is happening. I mean, as fast as I can snap my fingers, maybe faster. So I am looking at myself. I've exited my body, no real recognition that I'm dead, just feeling great, better all the time. The nurse is standing up from sitting in front of me, going through where my head would be. And I saw her face, and then I saw the back of her head as she kind of passed through me to go lower the table. I saw the doctor, I saw my husband, I heard them talking. I knew what they were thinking. So beyond just hearing, I was able to see outside of the room. If I thought about it, I was able to access it. I think that's the best way to say it. And I was also moving backwards in the same way to the upper left corner of the room as when I was young. Went to the same location. I was able to, look around the room from this height up there. So yes, it was very quick, but so rich with information. I got back into my body very suddenly. So at the end of my experience, my mother-in-law, who was holding me when I was a child and had my experience then. How beautiful is that? And also funny that my mother-in-law would say she has to go take care of the children, and I woke up in my body instantaneously. It was very interesting to wake up back in my body. I did not want to be there. I didn't. I mean, it was wet and sticky and dark, and I could kind of like feel down into my body, and it was just black. It was like wearing a big black sack that was human shaped. It was really bizarre. It creeps me out when I think back to that moment, that feeling. It was like I was coming back online with my body. And I guess I was. I mean, I was coming back to life. And I just kept my eyes closed on the table because I thought if I keep my eyes closed and I wish hard enough, pray hard enough, I'll go back. So I just laid there like that for a little bit. Um, I had seen during my NDE that if I chose to stay there, my family would be fine. My kids would grow up fine. My husband would do well. There would be grief and loss, but that I could communicate with them. And so I was feeling like from the other side, it would be okay. And the big part of that is that when you're on the other side, you have access to all this information. I can see their futures, and I can also understand this version of time that here everything seems to go by so slowly. But when you're on the other side, you can see that it's actually only an instant. I could see my whole life, and it was like a blink of an eye. When I'm living it here now, it seems like I'm plodding along and it's taking forever, even for, the potatoes to boil. That's the importance of all of this that we need to take away from it is when you're making decisions on the other side, like planning your life. So this is something that comes out of that experience that I learned. So yeah, when I woke up in my body, I had wanted to stay on the other side because of what I just explained. And it wasn't working, obviously. So I heard the doctor say, she's back. I fluttered my eyes open. I saw the doctor holding my husband, Scott, kind of back from coming to me. And he was just saying, give her some time. She just needs some time. And then I just eventually sat up and I did not say anything. I vaguely remember the doctor looking at me as I was trying to process what had happened, looking at Scott a lot with this thing of, I just saw your mom on the other side. Like I really wanted to tell him, but it didn't feel right in that moment. I mean, I was coming back to life, which it's its own challenge. I had just gotten a really bad diagnosis. The doctor's trying to tell me all this stuff about what had happened, what this means, what I need to do to make sure that, I don't pass out in public. There was a lot going on in that room. And no, I ended up not sharing it. So the one question that I would ask people who are listening is, after listening to near-death experiences, how can you go forward in your life in a way that brings more joy and more love to everyone you encounter? And, it's all personal journey. That's the beauty of this. What we take from these stories is what we need to take from these stories. So don't feel pressured to conform and believe that, what you're hearing has to be truth. That's for you to decide based on what you've been through, where you are, and you will get to where you need to be because that's what you're here to do. I will say, to address the skepticism part of it is that there's so much common thread among all these stories. And when you listen to people talk about it, I'm sure you can probably see in me commitment to what we're saying. I mean, it's there. It happened. We believe in it. And there are so many people, thanks to all these podcasts like what you're doing, Dave, we can see it. Just, start YouTube up, Google it, let it go, right? Search near-death experiences and just watch and listen for those commonalities between all of them. Each experience is different. And the reason for those differences is that that's what that soul needed when they went home. Why do some people see a Garden of Eden? Because that's what they need to see. Why did I see a white kind of welcome room? Because that's what I needed to see. That's what my soul expected when it landed there. If we all went past the waiting room and shot off way down the road into some room where we were planning the next life, you'd probably freak out a little bit. So just, watch, listen, tie the threads together, and understand that the differences that you're seeing are for that person, not for you. And it doesn't mean that it's not real, that it didn't happen because you're seeing differences. It just means that's what was needed in that moment. Well, you can always find me at isgo.iands.org. That's the website for IANDS, the portion that I work with. I'm also at angelaroseharris.com, and you can email me because I love talking about this stuff at angela@IANDS.org. So that's the @ symbol and then IANDS.org.